maybe take us through a little bit of that process without giving away too many spoilers.
Okay, so people say that TV rots the mind. And about 20 years ago, I was watching this television programme with my mum and dad, just because it was on, and this hand in a leather jacket appeared out of the darkness and touched Billy Piper's arm and said in a northern accent, "Run, run." And then I thought, I want to write something like that. I want to write something that's so sort of spicy and exciting and magic-y. And I did, and it was rubbish. I mean, literally one of the lines I wrote when I was younger was, "Shadow frowned madly."
I still think that's a good line.
I'm just trying to...
But
You
not
can
necessarily.
And it just kind of, I don't know how I ended up writing it all down, but then suddenly I went to my friends, Katie and Jade. Sorry, Katie and Jade, I can't believe I did that. Katie and Jade, and we started playing games, and my character, who was called Shadow, was part of those games, and I used to play that character, and then they developed their characters, and there were all these scenarios. And a friend of ours, Tom Carter, who unfortunately passed away when he was 29, I mean, we were only close when we were sort of 13, 14, so we haven't spoken for years and years, but he is still...
That's a really important time in your life.
Yeah, he is still... He influenced these stories. He'll, you know, it might be here in spirit, I don't know. But so the four of us used to play these ridiculous games, and suddenly at some point I found out I'd written them down, and then during lockdown I started... Yes. And in lockdown I started to tighten them up and try to make them into something actually readable. And then I started doing open mics, and I met with Steve, and I sort of presented my poetry work to Steve, and then I finally had confidence to say, "Steve, would you like to read this?" So it's literally from games we used to play when we were kids, and I said Doctor Who's been a massive influence, but it's evolved into its own person. There's things that aren't in Doctor Who. There's, you know, sex, relationships, marriages, fatherhood, magic. Narnia's influenced it all. Sorry? Narnia has influenced it. And it's just become totally its own thing. And there's so much of me in that character as well. Kind of a bit in that one, a bit of a rebel, but the central character, I found myself writing a bit. Obviously, I could go on.
You can say what you want.
I found myself writing a line about Shadow going back to his house and eating a bacon sandwich with brown sauce and mayonnaise. And I suddenly realised that's what I like. So I thought, oh my God, this character is so much me. So many of my adventures and things.
Your quirks.
My quirks, yeah. And he's grown and he's become more cheeky and had more of a sense of humour. And I've realised that's what I'm like. So we've kind of developed side by side, really.
Growing up together.
Basically, yeah.
And you captured that frantic spirit. I see, you know, they're still running, they're still off to the next adventure, which reminds me a lot of Doctor Who actually, with the we're always saying, you know, run, let's go.
Yeah,
completely the next thing.
They're running from the world they start in to the world they go to in the book, and then they go to another world, and then in later books, spoiler alert, he goes to other worlds. You'll have to find out what happens with her in later books.
Books 2, 3, 4 available next year.
And there's a prototype of the cover. That's Shadow, is a bit older. Regency outfit, you see.
Ooh.
Tell you who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Anthony out of Britain.
I knew you were going to say that.
Total accident.
That's easy to read. Your character, do not steal.
No.
Right, so I'm going to just move on to Stephen, because